And we are back right in time for the playoffs. We are less than 24 hours away from tip-off. Oh, I'm super excited. The reason I'm so excited this year, more excited than last year or the year before that, is because this year we just don't really know who's going to make it to the finals. Last year, the first round was cool. We had some good series and all. But at the end of the day, we knew it was going to be Cavs versus Warriors. Where this year, we don't officially know that. So that's why things are going to be so great. And this first round, it's about to be good. So today's video, I'm going to be giving my predictions / breakdowns of every series in the first round. Now, two things I got to say before we get into the first matchup. One, I watched tons and tons of basketball this season. But at the end of the day, I'm not a super expert. I'm not looking at advanced stats or I'm not looking at anything like that, okay? I'm not a super expert. I consider myself somebody that knows the game of basketball, obviously, but not a super expert. And two, well, I can't predict the future. You know, I'm making predictions, but I could be wrong on all of these. These are all my opinions too. So if you're, again, one of those guys that get very heartbroken over what somebody else thinks about your team, click off now. It just ain't worth it, dog. It just ain't worth it. Oh, one more thing. My team is not in the playoffs, okay? My team, the Chicago Bulls, were nowhere near the playoffs. So because of that, I show no bias in my predictions. I'm not putting, oh, I like this guy better because so I'm going to make them win it all. No, there's nobody I like more than nobody else, okay? So I'm 100% unbiased in my opinions, okay? So again, opinions, unbiased, not an expert. Keep that in mind as we get into the first official matchup. So we got Raptors versus Wizards. All right, here it is. A 4-1 series in favor of the Toronto Raptors. Now, Raptors, I know you watching this, DeMar, because DeMar hit me up. Let me know. He watched all the videos. Y'all got to come out, man. Y'all are notorious for losing game ones, coming out flat. You cannot do that this year. This is your best roster, and this is your best chance to win it all. But at the end of the day, most experts are still saying Cavs are going to make it to the finals. You got to show the league, like, look, we're coming to play in the playoffs. We're not a regular season team. And the way you do that is by defeating the Wizards and doing it bad. You got to destroy these guys. Now, that's that. The reason I say this is a 5-game series and not a 4-game series, because I was really close, is because I think John Wall and Bradley Beal are just too talented to go out in 4. You know, last year they went to 7. If it wasn't for Kelly Olynyk going crazy in Game 7 for the Boston Celtics, they would have went to the Eastern Conference Finals, you know. But this year's a little bit different, A, because of John Wall's injuries, and B, because of John Wall and Marcin Gortat's connection. If you don't know, it seems like they just hate each other. Marcin has been on record just saying that, well, it doesn't feel like team ball when John Wall has the ball. Man, look at that. Look at that. At the end of the day, I just think that the Washington Wizards are not deep enough for the deepest team in the league as far as they have the best bench in the league. You know, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan going to be rested, and Van Vliet and Norman Powell or OG Anunoby. Those guys are very quality players where the Washington Wizards don't really have that much depth. And at the end of the day, they're going to lose the series. Next, you got the 4-5 matchup, Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Indiana Pacers. Now, LeBron has not lost a single game in the first round in years. But I think this will be the year where they at least lose one. I say a 4-1 series in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I was close to going 6 games, but, well, the king, dog. LeBron is such a different monster in the playoffs. He just had one of his best regular season years of all time in his history. I cannot imagine what the next step is when he turns off the social media and it's just LeBron going nuts. I don't know what that's going to be like. But the reason I think that this is not a sweep and the Pacers are going to win at least one is because the Cavaliers have the second worst offense in the league. No, I don't mean in the playoffs. Not out of these 16 teams. I meant out of all 30. The only team with the worst defense this season is the Phoenix Suns. I'm sorry, dog. For me, you can't win a championship if your defense is that bad. Now, I know a couple years ago when they did win it, I think they were the 21st offense or something. But second to last is such a step. Like, it's so bad. And I think that the Indiana Pacers fans are going to fill that house that first game in Indianapolis. They're going to be loud. Victor Oladipo is going to have a game, and they're going to win at least one. So I think this is going 5, but still the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to make it out. So next we got the 76ers versus the Miami Heat. I have this series going to 6 in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, the reason I don't have this a sweep like many other people do is because I think that the Miami Heat are one of the best coached teams in the league. And I just think that they're such a hard team to game plan for because they don't have a star. You know, in some of these other teams, you could be like, okay, we're putting our best defender on this guy, and we got to try our best to lock this guy down. No, the Miami Heat don't really have that. You'll have a game with Kelly Olynyk. Think about Game 7 last year. Kelly Olynyk can go out for a big game, or Goran Dragic, or, you know, anything can happen with the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade, you never know. Playoff Wade could be him. So because of that, I think this is going 6. I don't feel super confident. It could go 5, but I think that the Miami Heat could take a couple games. But Philly is the hottest team in the league right now. But if Joel Embiid does not play Game 1, I could definitely see Spoelstra and company coming in Game 1 and taking it, you know, getting the series in their favor. But at the end of the day, I still think that the hottest team in the league, the Philadelphia 76ers, have too much firepower for Spoelstra and company. And the last matchup in the Eastern Conference comes between the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. This is the more confusing series for me because the Boston Celtics are missing Kyrie Irving, Marcus Smart, and Gordon Hayward. 3 very, very important pieces to their team. But at the end of the day, I think it's going 6 in favor of the Boston Celtics, okay? I think it comes down to one thing and well, 2 things really. First one being coaching. Brad Stevens was my pick for coach of the year, and I just think he's going to outcoach the heck out of the Milwaukee Bucks coaching staff. He's going to come in and game plan for Giannis. There's no way to stop Giannis. That's been proven. But you can throw, they have so many wing defenders in Boston that each time he's out on the floor, he can have a different defender on him to mess up his flow. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. You could throw some Sammy Ojeleye at him if you really want to. You know, you could just switch it up. Morris brother. You could just switch it up on him every rip, and he won't be able to gain a rhythm. And well, the second thing is just, well, they're the best defense in the league. The best defense in the league. That's going to mean something when this series comes down to it. Now, the reason I have the Milwaukee Bucks taking 2 is because, yeah, they do have the best player in the series in Giannis. And Giannis, I think he can put his team on his back and win a couple. The Milwaukee Bucks, they just aren't deep enough. They just aren't deep enough. If you ask me, they underperformed this season. And that's because of their depth. Their center position is below average. And they just aren't deep enough to beat the Boston Celtics in the series, if you ask me. But I think they could because of Giannis. So, I mean, that's one of the series that I'm very confused about, very excited to watch. Let's move on to the Western Conference, though. So here's where we have some better matchups, if you ask me. We got the Houston Rockets versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think this is a sweep. I think this is a sweep. I think the Houston Rockets are going to leave out there 4-0, get rested up for the next round. And the reason I think this is a sweep is because the Minnesota Timberwolves have the second worst defense left. Obviously, they don't have a worse defense than the Cavs, but they're the second worst defense left in the playoffs. Out of the 16, they're the 14th ranked defense. And, well, the Houston Rockets have, like, the best offense ever. You know? You think I'm joking? Close to ever. I just think something has best offense ever versus the 14th ranked defense in the playoffs. Or, I mean, I guess officially 15th ranked defense in the playoffs. So, something has to give, and it's going to be that. You know? The main thing I think about in my head is, how are they going to guard Chris Paul and James Harden? You know? How? Jimmy's a great defender, but after that, who's left? Jeff Teague is not going to defend. Derrick Rose is not going to defend. Jamal Crawford's not going to defend. Wiggins is not going to defend. They just don't have guard defense. And, well, you're going against one of the best guard tandems in the league. You know, it's gonna be tough from them. It's gonna be very, very tough from them. This could go 5 or maybe even 6. But for that to happen, I need to see one thing and one thing only. Karl-Anthony Towns needs to take more shots. In the last game of the season where they played against the Denver Nuggets for the playoff spot, basically, Karl-Anthony Towns did not take a shot in the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter or at all in the overtime. We're talking about a top 5 center without taking a shot for that long of a period is ridiculous. And that's one advantage they have over the Houston Rockets. You need to give him the ball more. I personally don't think Jimmy Butler, he didn't look 100%. He looked like 70%. He looked gassed. He was not making the shots down the stretch, and they need their best player too. So that's just all of this coming to a fact. I just think that the Rockets are going to steamroll them and be rested up for the next series, which is the Thunder versus the Utah Jazz. I think this is going to be my favorite series of the playoffs. At least on paper, it is. Now, I think this is going 7 in favor of OKC. And I think the main X factor is going to be Melo. Yeah, I think Melo is such an X factor. He has not been in the playoffs since 2012. He hasn't been in the playoffs since 2012, getting his feet back wet, and this has not been a good year for Melo. If you ask me, it's been a really bad year for Melo. But we know that Melo can have those games, and if Melo has a game like that we know he can do, they're going to be hard to beat. They're going to be very, very hard to beat. Now, a matchup that I think is going to be very important is the Steven Adams versus the Rudy Gobert matchup. Neither of these guys are going to get the ball in the post and try to score you, but they all make such an impact, both on offense, whether it be setting hard screens, ducking to the basket, or defense, where I pick Rudy to be my defensive player of the year. And the stats say that, well, when Russell Westbrook plays against the Utah Jazz, he doesn't drive to the paint as often. And if you asking me, he's a smart man for that, because Rudy Gobert is the stifle tower. He does not let that stuff fly in his paint. I just think it's going to be a very, very important, very, very exciting series. Now, the reason I do have it going to OKC, another reason, is that I just don't know how Donovan Mitchell is going to fare in the playoffs. Rookies, for the most part, just aren't that great in the playoffs. There are cases where, like, Dwayne Wade, his rookie year, Dwayne Wade was amazing in the playoffs. But for the most part, rookies just don't perform well. It's just a whole different set of lights, a whole different game plan when you're playing against the same team in a 7-game series. A team that can prepare for you for these 7-game series. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Ricky Rubio is going to have to play some amazing defense on Russell Westbrook. I just think the superstar firepower of OKC will be just this much too much for the Utah Jazz. Next, you got the Trailblazers versus the Pelicans. I think this is similar to the last series, where I think it's going 7, but I have it going in favor of the Portland Trailblazers. All right. The main thing about this, and now you may look at me like I'm crazy, because if you look at it on paper, well, the Pelicans are not a very deep team at all. But I just think that Anthony Davis is such a great player that he's going to wield his team to a couple victories, because the Portland Trailblazers don't have anybody to defend him. Now that I think about it, no team in the league really has anybody to defend him. Yusuf Nurkic is going to give us his all, but at the end of the day, Anthony Davis is such a monster. Think about a couple years ago when they were playing against the Warriors. Those were close games. He almost stole one. He almost stole one by himself. Now, this year, he has a little more help with Nico Mirotic. Drew Holiday is such a great defender that nobody talks about. And then, well, playoff Rondo. Don't sleep, playoff Rondo. Remember first 2 games in Boston last year? Playoff Rondo was the man. And hey, if he comes up again, this could definitely be a 7-game series. But at the end of the day, I think that if we do get it to Game 7, the arena will be too loud, and Damian Lillard and CJ are just going to tear it up. But I think that the guard matchup is going to be very, very solid, man. Because, again, Drew Holiday is a very underrated defender. Don't sleep. He may get voted to the all-defensive, I would say, 2nd team, I guess. And then Rondo, when you think about a couple nights ago versus the Warriors, he had the game-winning strip, you know, against Kevin Durant. He can play defense when he wants to, and he's a guy that loves the playoffs. But at the end of the day, got to give it to Damian Lillard and company. And the last series is the Golden State Warriors versus the San Antonio Spurs. I have this going 5, and of course in favor of the Warriors. Now, this is, I don't know what much to really say. Without Kawhi Leonard, the Spurs had a great season, you know. It exceeded my expectations, really. But they just don't have enough firepower to match the Warriors. Of course, Steph Curry's not playing in the first round, but I don't think that's going to matter too much, because Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson, I just think they're too deep. I think they're too deep. Pop will get them a game. Pop is going to get them a game. As one of the greatest coaches of all time, maybe the greatest coach of all time, he's not going to go out in 4, but in 5, probably. Thank you so much for watching this video. I can't tell how long this video is, but I'm guessing it was a longer one. So thank you for making it to this part if you enjoyed it. If you're at this part, you had to enjoy something. So leave it a like. Let me know that you're really supporting the channel in time for the playoffs. Also in the comment section below, let me hear your playoff predictions. Thank y'all so much. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.